The 2003 Mr. Olympia story begins in 2001 actually. It's September 2001 and it is Olympia time. Ronnie Coleman is the current 3-time Mr. Olympia champion and he's shooting for number 4. But in the morning of the show, Ronnie Coleman has some issues and using his own words, he felt like he was going to die and decides to drop the show and go to the hospital. His trainer and nutritionist, Chad Nichols, convinces him not to do that. He advised Ronnie to drink as much water as he can drink to feel better. Ronnie drank 1 gallon of water and he felt better indeed. However, he definitely didn't look better at the 2001 Mr. Olympia show. Okay, health is more important than anything, but this is not the subject of this video. The idea is that all that water had a huge impact on how Ronnie looked, especially in the prejudging, and a rising Jay Cutler was ready to capitalize on that. The judges gave Ronnie Coleman a pass this time in what it was Ronnie's first sign of vulnerability on stage since his Olympia reign began back in 1998. So it's 2002, Jay Cutler decides to skip the 2002 Mr. Olympia. We can speculate why, but nobody will ever know the real reason. So from what should have been an easy win for Ronnie Coleman, turned out to be an even more controversial win than in 2001. Ronnie showed up significantly downsized, probably trying to respond to the critics who claimed he was too big and bloated in 2001. He was also flat and his only body part that didn't get smaller that year was his gut. Ronnie looked bad this year, let's face it, and there was one bodybuilder on that Olympia stage that night, at least one bodybuilder that looked better than Ronnie Coleman. His name was Gunther. He made everyone look small, not only Ronnie, he was full, he was conditioned, but the judges considered he should get 5th place. Ronnie Coleman won this show in what it was going to be his most undeserved Mr. Olympia win ever. Later in the year, the anticipated rematch between Ronnie and Gunther finally happened at the GNC Show of Strength, where Gunther showed up arguably even better than at the Olympia, while Ronnie was still pretty much the same. Enough was enough even for the judges and they gave Gunther the win. The reigning 4-time Mr. Olympia champion has just been defeated outside the Olympia stage. Before the 2003 Mr. Olympia, things were as follows. Ronnie was getting worse and worse, he even got defeated on stage by Gunther, who was now a favorite to repeat the feat at the Olympia. Even worse for Ronnie Coleman. Jay Cutler was going to come back on the Olympia stage in 2003 with great confidence after winning the 2002 and 2003 Arnold Classic shows. So things didn't look too good for the 5-time Mr. Olympia champion. Now, behind the scenes, people who were close to Ronnie knew that Ronnie was prepping like never before for the 2003 Olympia. But the overall feeling was that Ronnie Coleman, who was a 5-time Mr. Olympia, was going to lose in 03, that we're going to have a new champion. Mr. Olympia 2003 is on, and it's reported that when Ronnie hit the stage, people started laughing. And the reason they were laughing was that they were like, oh my god. For me, this is Ronnie's best shape of all time. And not only that, this is the most dominant and the single most invincible bodybuilding physique ever. Now, it's true that he wasn't as aesthetic as he used to be, and he was pretty bloated, but Let me put it like this. If someone who didn't watch bodybuilding one day in their life would ask you to show him what is the pinnacle of this sport, what the human body is capable of in terms of muscle mass and conditioning, I'm pretty sure that most of you, not only me, would think Ronnie Coleman 2003. It is not his prettiest version, it is not his most eye-pleasing or aesthetic version, but it is the freakiest, most dominant, jaw-dropping version of any bodybuilder ever. Ronnie Coleman obviously won this Mr. Olympia event for the 6th year in a row. He was going to win 2 more Mr. Olympias before he retired, tying Lee Haney's all-time record of 8 consecutive Mr. Olympia wins. The consensus before the 2003 Mr. Olympia was that Ronnie Coleman's era was over, that we were going to have a new champion. However, Ronnie had other plans. He came in his best shape of all time, nobody could deny him. He brought an untouchable version that will forever be referenced as the pinnacle of what the human body is capable of in terms of muscle mass and conditioning. Like this video if you enjoyed this video format, also subscribe so you won't miss the next one. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you and see you next time, guys.